welcome to the second, well, technically third episode featuring fourth in total, but the third one featuring her. So we are going to pretty much carry off where we left off and really talk about hygiene in terms of our sleep, our eating, and also our work environments, like ways that we structure ourselves, like to manage kids, to manage dogs, to manage our work in general, because you're a trainer, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yes, she's a trainer. I'm a coach. We have our clients to assist, which are pretty much like our kids as well. And we also, on top of that, have continued education to do. We have a list of our chores to do as well. So it's all about pretty much how we manage ourselves so that we can actually be in a position to manage our clients as well as the other things around us, which we think will really benefit you. Because I think there'll be a lot of applicable stuff because there are so many things that people overlook, and especially when it comes to your gut health. And that's just a little teaser because everybody's got this hype about gut health. But yes, so.
Okay, let's kick it off then. So I think we ended the last episode particularly talking about kind of our physical hygiene practices. So sleep hygiene, like nutrition planning, like all of that stuff, didn't we? Do you want to, should we start with that? Should we start with that and move on to working practices at the end? Okay.
Yeah. Especially because you're so big on sleep.
Sleep. It is. I can talk on this for hours. I won't, but it is one of my favorite subjects. I read so much on sleep when I was a newly qualified trainer, and it really had a big impact on how I kind of shaped my working practice with clients, how I even like do things like how I raise my child, how I manage my own sleep, rest and recovery, particularly in the competition cycle, which I'm in now. So it's really, really important. So it's been one of my kind of big centerpieces of managing clients and managing their ability to apply themselves to my coaching programs, nutrition, etc., etc. So sleep and recovery, as we all know, is really important for you to see progressive gains from your training in your from your diet.
She doesn't just mean gains in terms of muscle. No. She means all-round gains.
Yeah, exactly. So mental capacity, ability to maintain working relationships, to maintain home relationships, to apply yourself to your physical training and have the energy to do it, etc., etc. So sleep and recovery is massively, massively underrated. A lot of clients at the initial consultation phase will say, I don't sleep very much, or I don't sleep very well. And as I find out, that often happens down the line, that type of insomnia, which clients will often talk about as having been a problem all their lives, it's a medical condition, it's something that I've always had and will never change, changes pretty rapidly when you put hygiene practices in place. Now, I'm not saying it's a fix-all for everyone, because obviously there are conditions out there which mean that sleep and insomnia are a real problem. However, these things can apply to a more general population, and with consistency will hopefully help you achieve better rest and recovery time, which means you're more able to apply yourself in your training, your physical gains, and your mental capacity during the day in your working practice. So the first thing that I say about sleep is, particularly if you're an insomniac, is you need to clean up your sleeping environment. And the reason that we do that is that we can prime your mental state so that you are ready to go to sleep. There is what we call a hormone cascade that starts around, technically it starts around 3 p.m, but your sleep cycle, your circadian rhythm that prepares you for sleep, starts around 10 p.m in the evening. So a circadian rhythm is basically the rhythm that our bodies go through on a 24-hour period or a 7-day period or whatever the cycle is. Okay, so that is when we wake, when we rest, when our cortisol, adrenaline hormones start to peak, when they start to drop off, like all of those things. So it's all like hormone based, and it's based around our kind of our basis of being human on this planet, living with the sun and the
circadian rhythm.
Yeah. So at 3 p.m. in the afternoon, that is when our cortisol and our adrenaline hormones are starting to drop off. So in the morning, we wake up around 5-6 o'clock. That's when your adrenaline, your cortisol is peaked, right? So it has a function that is to wake you up and get you ready for the day. You should feel refreshed in the morning. Of course, not everybody does because they've had bad sleep. So that's why we're talking about hygiene practices. So it will steadily rise up to the point where you wake up in the morning. You have a period where you have like a peak of it, and then around 3 p.m. in the afternoon it should start to drop off. Now there are things that can interrupt that, things like caffeine in the afternoon, things like your working practices, particularly if you're looking at screens late at night, light interference, that sort of thing. So we'll cover all of that in a minute. Then around 10 p.m. that's when you start your kind of sleep hormone cascade. So if you can imagine you're at a wedding, I always use the same analogy because it seems to work. So when you're at a wedding, they have the kind of champagne glasses. There's one at the top, it's a pyramid. And if you get it right, you can pour champagne into the top glass. It will overflow into the next layer, the next layer, the next layer, and all the glasses should be full. Now, if one of those glasses is out of place, just one, then either the whole stack is going to fall over completely, or you're going to find that some of the glasses are overfull, some of the glasses are half empty, some have nothing in, and you get this kind of mismatch. So not everything is optimal for your sleep. So that's basically how the hormone cascade starts. So around 10 p.m., you get an increase in the hormone melatonin. Melatonin can be prescribed for people who have sleep problems. Particularly, you find it prescribed for children who have ADHD, and that is to help their cortisol and adrenaline drop off at night and help them get into that kind of sleepy, ready for bed kind of mood. So melatonin peaks between 10 p.m. and 2 a.m. So you have 4 hours of kind of optimizing your sleep hormone. So those 4 hours are crucial, because the more you cut into that 4 hours, the less production of melatonin you're going to get. Melatonin is a very fragile hormone. So melatonin is produced under very specific circumstances. So for peak production of melatonin, it needs to be dark, pitch black. So if you are in a room with a TV on, with your phone screen, with the alarm clock that has a light, with, you know, charging lights, lots of electrical activity, then that is going to affect the production of your melatonin. You're not going to produce as much, which means you're not going to sleep as much. So a pitch black room is essential, which is why I use blackout curtains in both my room and my child's room, always has done. And we do not, there is a rule in my house, and I have had this rule for as long as I can remember. There has never been a TV in my room, never. And there's never been a TV in my child's room either. If there are phones in there, they go on flight mode, they are off at night. They're not on silent, they're not on vibrate, they are off. There is no way of a message getting through at night, because you don't need someone to message you in the middle of the night. Okay, there may be particular circumstances where there is an emergency going on and things are slightly different. But for the most part of the time, you don't need someone calling you at 2 a.m. or texting you or whatever, because they're up watching. Hi, baby. Sorry, my son's just woken up. So between 10 p.m. and 2 a.m., you want to maximize your dark period. Melatonin is produced in pitch black, and we need that darkness to be able to produce it with our bodies. Otherwise, you're not going to get an optimal production. So the other things you need are, room needs to be cool. So like a cave, you need a source of fresh air. So the window should be open, no heating on, make sure that you don't have too many blankets or too little blankets. You need to be comfortable and ready for sleep. Your room is for sleeping at this point in time. It is not for, watching TV, doing work, etc., etc. So in preparation for that, we need to make sure that we have a relaxing environment. So you haven't taken the laptop to bed to finish off some work. You're not on Facebook. You're not on Instagram. You're not on social media. You're not, messaging like your friends about the latest gossip. You can do all that before bed, not in your bedtime preparation time. Lots of people like to use an app. I use Calm. It's brilliant. They have lots of celebrities on the Calm app. There are loads and loads of sleep stories. There's meditation music. There's things like 7 days of calming anxiety, 7 days of mental fitness preparation. There's loads of stuff on there, but they have really good variety, so you can listen to something different every night. There's travel stories, there's fictional stories, there's children's stories, you name it. It's this is Jack. You name it, it's on there. So that's a really good way if you find it difficult to prepare yourself a bed and you feel like you need to be doing something. The Calm app, tell you a story, listen to something, is a good way of getting yourself into that kind of preparation for sleep. So we've taken the screens out of the room. Your room is pitch black. We've got something to help you prepare mentally and get into a relaxed state of mind. So we've gone from TV, hectic day, work, whatever, and we've used our app if necessary to go from a real active state of mind to a very calm state of mind where you've cleared your head and you're now ready to sleep. Okay, so for peak production of melatonin, if you have a late night, I say to my clients, one night a week is not going to matter too much if you go to bed at, say, closer to midnight than 10 o'clock. However, most of the week, so 5 or 6 days of the week, at least, you need to be in bed at the same time. So let's say, for example, 9:30, 9:45, so that you're going to be ready for 10 o'clock to get the maximum production of melatonin. This is in an ideal situation. I know not everybody has this ability with like working night shifts or whatever. This is an ideal situation. However, if you're outside of that ideal situation, what you want to do is have consistency for as much of the time as possible. Okay, so go to bed at the same time, have the same routine every time you go to bed. So 5 days out of 7, 6 days out of 7, that is what you want to be doing. If you are struggling to sleep and don't like going to bed early, start with planning to go to bed for 11:30. Move it to 11:15, move it to 11 o'clock, move it to until you get a time that suits you.
There is actually something scientific that you can add to that as well. So we have the ability to shift our circadian cycle by up to 30 minutes. 15 minutes is the optimal, but if you're trying to become a morning person or you're trying to work on, like, you need to actively be trying, not just say, because it was me once where I used to be like, okay, I'm going to make sure that I sleep before 9:30. I kept saying it, never did. Now I am. Now I really want to get my sleeping to 9 o'clock. So it's trying to shift it that little bit at a time, and you really can change your sleep cycle. The same as with your eating, like your whole circadian rhythm is something that your body adapts to. Your body is an adapting machine. And that's exactly why I try to get my clients to eat the meals at the same time of day, exactly as Phoenix has just mentioned, because your body loves routine and it will end up secreting hunger hormones and fullness hormones at the same time if you give it that stimulus regularly. The brain learns from reps. It learns from repeating the same sequence over and over again. If you want to change your eating patterns, you need to change them bit by bit. Don't try to overhaul them all at once. I guess there are some certain situations where it's kind of best to bite the bullet and actually force yourself mentally to go through it, because what you're doing is so far from ideal. But basically, if you want to make the process easier for you in terms of setting your circadian rhythm, do it in little nibbles of 15 minutes. Back to you.
Yeah, absolutely that, 100%. Just on the side to that, there is this kind of train of thought, like, I cannot do that. You know, I am an adult now and I've spent my whole life not being able to sleep. So just because you tell me to go to bed at this time doesn't mean it's going to happen. Okay, let's flip that situation. How about you start a new job and all of a sudden they want you to work a different shift pattern? So you now have to work a night shift instead of a day shift. Does that mean that you are not going to sleep because you've lived all your life the same way? So you're still going to go to bed at 9 o'clock in the evening, even though you've got to be at work at 9 o'clock in the evening? No, it doesn't, because you're now in a situation where you are committed to something. There is a higher priority that means that you need to adapt your own routines, and you will do it, and you'll fall into that routine really quickly. It might take you, 1 5-day pattern to fix
What
that.
was that P word?
Sorry?
What was that P word again?
Priority. It's a bit early. I'm like, what did I say?
Priority. Like, you guys need to sort out your priorities. If you do not schedule your priorities, your life's going to take over and start scheduling you around. Like, priorities are the biggest thing. And when it comes to priorities, unless you actually have a deep enough reason why, and stop looking at things like we talked about in the first episode, just on the external, like, okay, I want to look good. What the does sleeping have to do with it? What the hell does this have to do with it? Like, if you don't tie, I will go into all the health stuff all about sleep as well once Phoenix has finished with the actual hygiene of it all. I will go into why you want to make it your number one priority. But the thing is, if you do not attach this strong drive and actually ask yourself questions, like, this is why I'm big on asking people, how do you feel? How did this make you feel? Okay, and how would you usually feel? Like, you don't want to feel like a friggin' zombie walking around and feel like you're letting yourself down. You need to do exactly what you told yourself you're going to do, but you need to make it manageable. So get your priorities straight and align them with the person you want to become. Because sometimes we need to actually have a foot literally up our bum to make us move. But like, a lot of the time, we're not going to be ending up with 3 different jobs forcing us to shuffle our life around. Like, you need to do it yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. And we're going to come on to that in a bit as well, because I was asking Ruby about how she has changed her lifestyle to manage her priorities effectively, because Ruby is such a busy person. Like, the amount of stuff that I see you put out is ridiculous. So we'll come to that in a minute. Ruby, how long have we been recording now?
17 minutes.
Okay, cool. We'll carry on for another 10 minutes, and then we'll take a break and then put it into episode 2. I thought that actually might be a good place to stop. We'll see how it turns out. Okay, so we've got the melatonin production, 4 hours, prioritize, make it your job. If it's something that is important to you, make it that top priority. So as if you are starting a new job, they're paying you and a salary. This is how you are going to manage your basic security, your sleep, your food, your rent, your food on the table. If you place that priority on it, you're going to make it happen. You'll do what you need to do to make it happen. Okay, once we are maximizing that melatonin, and we have set the environment, we've made a dark room, we've managed our electronics, we've managed our pre-sleep routines of taking away screens, relaxing music, sleep stories, whatever it may be. If you are that person that doesn't sleep, yes, this is going to take a while, because your brain's still going to be going, yeah, but I don't want to sleep now. It's going to fight you. It's going to try and stick to your old routines and habits. That is normal. That's normal. And you have to go through the pain to get through to the other side. It isn't something that is going to happen overnight. She's making symbols at me.
Yep, it's exactly like the cables we spoke about last episode. Your brain's going to want this.
Yeah, exactly. So you are going to have to change your stimulus bit by bit, and it means being consistent with your application to the routine. You might not go to sleep the first night, you might not go to sleep the second, third. Eventually it's going to happen, okay? And then that night you're going to go, yes, I did it. It may be up and down for another week or so, maybe longer. You will get there. Once you are maximizing that 4 hours of melatonin production, the rest of the hormone cascade will fall into place. Melatonin is not just a sleep hormone. It doesn't just make you sleepy. It triggers a cascade of what happens next with the other hormones in your body. So during the night, we have a replenishment of the hormones that we've used up in the day. You know, we've got like lots of organs, and all the hormones have different functions in the body. So you've got different glands, you've got your pituitary, you've got thyroid, you've got your pancreas, you've got like loads of different endocrine cycles going on. So that manage different parts of you. Some manage stress, some manage hunger, some manage your energy levels, some manage your reproductive cycle. There's lots and lots of things going on there. Now, going back to our champagne glass analogy, if some of those hormones are really high, for example, say you're not getting enough of the melatonin cycle at the beginning of the night, what's going to happen is your prolactin in the morning is going to be high. And if your prolactin is high, it means you're going to be craving carbohydrates in the morning because you didn't get enough sleep. We all know that feeling. If you've been out on a big night or a late night, or, you know, if you stayed up with kids, if you have a child, you will know those sleepless nights that go on for about a year. And you know how hard it is to manage your hunger the next day. You crave carbs all the time because your body is in survival mode. So managing that sleep cycle, doing those small things, because in the grand scale of things, the things I'm asking you to do are small. You know, the dark room, the going to bed at the same time, the you know, using some kind of app to get you into a sleeping frame of mind. Those are small things to help you manage things that will override you in the morning. So if your prolactin is high, you're going to crave carbohydrates. You don't have infinite willpower. You will go and do what your hormones tell you to do. So if you want to make that easier for yourself, make it easier to be able to apply yourself to your nutrition, to get more out of your training sessions, to have quicker mental capacity at work or in your relationships or wherever the next day, doing those small things will benefit you in the much bigger areas of your life. And you might not connect that immediately, but you will see the change over time.
Yeah, so that's pretty much touching on a lot of the things. And she did mention prolactin, which is released by the pituitary, but that is only a little bit of the whole puzzle if you zoom out and look at the health implications of not enough sleep. If you're someone that tests your blood glucose levels, you will realize that even one night of poor sleep can lead to increased insulin resistance for not only that period in the morning, but for pretty much most of the day. And if you think about, so insulin resistance, what it means is that if you eat carbs and you have sugars, which is the breakdown product of carbs, running through your blood, what happens is your body needs to get it into cells to get it out of your body. So you will have this amount of glucose in your bloodstream, and your body is secreting insulin to signal to the cells, because insulin is not a fat storage hormone, it is a messenger hormone. It is a transport hormone. It will take whatever it is that needs to be shuttled to a muscle cell, to a liver cell, to a fat cell. It doesn't discriminate, and it will take it in. It will help to take it in because it will bind to the receptors that will take in whatever fuel is in the blood. Now, if you are insulin resistant, you could eat a whole bolus of carbs and you will need to secrete a larger proportion of insulin to actually get the effect at any of the cells to actually get it into the body. So, well, into the muscle cells, into wherever it needs. So your body is still craving sugar. What did Phoenix say? You'll be craving sugar. So your body will be craving sugar for energy because it cannot get into that cell because your sleep deprivation just made you more insulin resistant. That is not an ideal situation to be in because you are thus causing the effect similar to wanting to push the nutrients that are in the body, in the blood, into fat cells. So you are more likely to store your energy as fat versus going to muscle to actually feed muscle tissue.
Okay, so
to actually feed muscle tissue. And this also goes for all the other cells. So being insulin resistant is not ideal. And if you want to actually manage your glucose control, manage your health, manage your hormones, then this is exactly why you want to be, that why we were just talking about the priorities. It's that is touching on the reason.